Welcome to the flowerschool.com video library. I'm Leanne Kessler, Director of the Floral Design Institute, and today I'm here to share with you a segment on the Floral Crown. It's a romantic and feminine alternative to the traditional bridal veil. The Floral Crown, also known as a halo or a hair wreath, was once considered to be quite bohemian. But now, the crown's incorporated in all different styles of weddings, from rustic chic to garden to country to most any destination wedding. The wearing of hair crowns is certainly one of my favorite trends this bridal season. The beautiful flowers I'm going to use to create the crown are all from florabundance.com. Gorgeous garden roses, fragrant stock, stephanotis on a vine. Isn't that exquisite? Spray roses and foliages, all of them ordered online. It's so easy. You can order them by variety or by color or by fragrance. And they've all been processed ahead of time. And if you need help on how to do care and handling, check out our website at flowerschool.com. There's a whole video just on how I process these flowers so that they would be luxurious and ready to work with today. To create a stable crown, you want to start by wiring your larger headed flowers. It's like the garden roses. I cut them off from the stem, leaving just half an inch to an inch. Then, using a 22 gauge wire, I pierce through the hip, spreading it through about 2 inches, and then bend it straight down. Then using corsage tape, go through and tape right from the base of the calyx. Their petals open out, they're so gorgeous. And then down the stem. You want to go down about 3 inches. You don't have to go all the way to the bottom. So for each bloom, you're going to pierce through the calyx with a wire, bend it down, and then working with gravity, tape from the base of the calyx down the stem about 3 inches. The base of the halo or crown is a single 18 gauge wire that's taped. You can make a judgment as to how long you want it to be, taping it, testing it on the head, measuring to see what will work. When I'm working with a bride and planning a crown, I usually take a ribbon and put it around their head to see how long, and then I save that ribbon. I cut it to the length and measure it and say, okay, the halo's going to be 24 inches, or whatever it might be. If you need to, you can add to the wire, making it longer with 2 pieces, or cut it shorter. It really depends on how long you need it to be to fit appropriately on the head. Now I go through and tape down. That creates the solid foundation. Then once you have this, it's simple to just take the individual roses and start attaching them, taping it right onto the first wire. Then as I go down, I clip out the rose wire so that I don't end up with too many. Go down a ways. You can tear it if you want. Add in another rose and then tape that on. And at this point, you want to turn and start working with gravity, letting it hang downward so it doesn't flip around on you. As I work, it's really simple. You just keep adding roses. And you don't have to worry about the spacing because we're going to add other things in. So the fact that there's gaps and that it bends, that's all okay. Just keep adding, remembering that as you add, periodically you want to cut out those extra wires, because that's what adds bulk, and you certainly don't want a lot of bulk on the bride's head, so you want to keep clipping them out, adding in. They'll spin around on you. That's okay. They're on wires. You can spin them back, so you don't have to worry about is it frontwards, is it backwards. It makes no difference. It's going to be that they're all on the wire, and that's all you care about, that they get onto the wire and that you tape securely, and that you don't let it get too fat, clipping them out and then working your way to the end. to start filling in so that there won't be any gaps and add lushness, I add foliages that I can just wind through. Some Dysflexus in the Springeri asparagus type family, and some variegated ivy, both quite luxurious. And I just take and actually just wind it around in between the roses. No need to anchor it. Its stem will just anchor it all by itself. Then go back with another piece, maybe coming from the opposite end. Just tucking it, being gentle with the roses, winding. Maybe a little bit of the ivy. Finding a spot to tuck it in and around. You can see it adds texture, adds color, adds such beauty. The addition of a stephanotis vine is going to make this so spectacular. It adds such a luxurious look and fragrance. Now I don't need the heavy portion of the stem, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut this off. But I'm going to save it because the leaves are also beautiful. And then I just decide where I want it to go, and coming from underneath so that it pulls up and over the roses and in, kind of going around and then back. And some of the blooms will fall off as you're pulling, but you want to just kind of tuck them. And then as you get it situated, using small bits of bind wire, you can tie it down into the base to make sure that it doesn't let go. Before I attach the rest of the accent flowers, I start to turn it into a crown, molding it around, and attach ribbons on either end, so that's how we can secure it into a full circle. So I just cut off a bit of number 5, double-sided satin, 2 lengths. You can always make it shorter, can't make it longer, so I go a little bit on the long side, and then bend this. And again, I don't worry about gaps. There may be some gaps as we go, but we still have so many more blooms to add. But I bring it around into a circle, gently molding it, and since it's all wired, works quite well. Then using the ribbon, just bringing it and tying it inside of the last rose. So you don't want to do it at the very tip. Do it 1 rose in, tie it in a knot again, then go back and dovetail that so it looks a little prettier. Then go back and do the same thing. 1 rose in on the opposite side. Tie it into a knot. Repeat. Dovetail. That way, when it's all done, we can just pull the 2 ends together, tying them at whatever size we need it to be. Now comes the fun part. The work is done. Now you just go through and cut bits of the blooms. It can even be individual florets of the stalk or a section of the stem, a Gerbera daisy, just cutting the stem off. You don't need that. The leaves that we saved from the stephanotis vine, cutting them off. Maybe a spray rose, little different look. Ooh, maybe even including some of the buds. Aren't those exquisite? And then, using your Oasis Floral Adhesive, cold glue, just a bit of glue on each item, and let it set so it starts to dry. Will bond more completely if you let it dry a little bit. So you can see how quick and easy this is. The hard part is making sure you get a nice stable base. Once you have that, then you can just go through and add florets and stems and individual blooms wherever you think you need one. If they're too long, break them down a little shorter. Maybe even just taking the buds individually. Now as it started to dry, I go back and then just feed them down in, finding each spot. Make sure the glue bonds nicely. Me coming in underneath, bringing some of the buds out here. A little bit of fullness over here where I've got a bald spot. And by gluing everything in, you can take care of your bald spots. You can make sure that everything's protected. Adding in the leaves underneath the roses to help protect them. So you can just take care of all those little things that can go wrong, like a rose petal bends and you don't like it, or maybe there's a gap when you've twisted the circlet. This solves all those problems with just a little touch of glue. When you're complete, let the glue set. It dries pretty quickly. Then you want to lock the moisture in. All the flowers from flowerabundance.com were fabulous, but it takes proper care and handling, and then after assembly, you want to spray them with an anti-transpirant like Crowning Glory. Totally saturate everything so that it locks the moisture in, and then let it dry before you put it away in the flower cooler. A floral crown like this can be made a day in advance, then set it in a plastic bag or an airtight container and set it in your flower cooler. Then the day of the wedding, you want to keep it cold for as long as possible, because once it's worn and it's sitting on the warm head, it's not going to last that long. 4 to 6 hours really would be expected, maybe a little longer, but they're for the moment. They're for the wedding when the bride wants to be the princess. So then at the wedding, you would take it and personally put it on the bride, or if her hairdresser is there, they could do it. But you want to kind of do it yourself. Don't just leave her waiting, because you can adjust it to make it a little bigger, a little smaller, so it sits perfectly on her head. And these luxurious crowns, you don't even need to bobby pin them. They're not like the smaller halos we used to make. You can just set them on, and they wear them like a hat. The weight holds them securely, and then you just adjust by tying the ribbons either looser or tighter so that it fits perfectly on the head. Floral crowns are the epitome of fairy tale elegance. The current generation of brides grew up with Disney. Is it any wonder that now on their wedding day, they choose to be a princess wearing their own floral crown? And a special thank you to flowerabundance.com for providing such beautiful flowers. When I called Debbie and shared my vision with what I wanted, she quickly climbed on board and said, "Oh yes, we've got the most beautiful butter yellow garden roses and stephanotis vine." And I thought, oh yes, you understand. So thank you. They really are fabulous blooms. Now it's your turn. If you need more help and instruction, check out the website. If you're looking for supplies, we've got it there as well at flowerschool.com. Contact us if you have questions through the website or by telephone at 1-800-819-8089. And of course, I want to see your floral crowns. Please send me a picture so I can see what you created and how you use this inspiration. My personal email is Leanne, Leanne, at floraldesigninstitute.com. Now it's your turn. Have fun and do something you love.